Good morning everybody, I'm back with another Mechanical Monday. Today I'm going to go through the brakes and the brake system, mainly for disc brakes, as I don't have caliper brakes anymore, so I cannot show you those at this current time, but I can still try my best to explain to you guys of what how to betterly adjust a caliper brake. Alright, so a quick run through of the parts in the disc brake area. Here you've got the main caliper block, so that is your caliper, that is where everything happens, all the pistons come together, the pads close down and the brake fluid comes through, or the cable is pulled, also pushing the one side of the piston in, which then obviously causes the reaction of the stopping of the brake the wheel. So all I'm going to show you today is readjustment of the caliper block and cleaning of the pads. So to begin with, I'm going to start off by cleaning in the caliper and the brake pads. I'm going to get my 2.5mm Allen key to take out that screw just there, which I'll just take out completely in a second. That allows us to take out this metal cage along with the two pads, which allows us to access the pads and clean them. I've got the brake pads out of the caliper by taking out this pin here, which was holding it in, using my 2.5mm Allen key, and the cages also come out with it because that's what holds the pads in place. I'm going to get some sandpaper. I've got some of this stuff. I'm just going to take a small chunk of that off in a moment, and I'm just going to rub on that weird looking stuff where it's all shiny, just there on there. I just caught that with my finger. Avoid touching that stuff because it can cause contamination, which decreases effectiveness and can cause squeaky brakes. The way I clean in the calipers, I take off these two bolts. I'll get a cloth and a flathead screwdriver or a screwdriver, and I will just rub inside the caliper, just getting rid of as much dirt and grit as I can that's in there. So now I've used my sandpaper on my two brake pads. I've used my cloth to wipe through the cage, and then I've also used my cloth and my screwdriver to wipe in the caliper. Now you can see that the caliper is loose. What you want to do is you want to be able to put your brake pads back in. So you want them to be sat in the cage, which I will just show how they should be sat. So they normally just lock into place. It's a bit difficult to do with one hand. It's just pushing down, avoiding the pad. They just lock into place, just sat around it. Do that with both pads, still trying to avoid touching it. Now, a lot of brake pads don't have a left and a right, so it doesn't matter too much. But I never bother on which side they go on whichever side they do. So yeah, put your brake pads back in, just gently tighten the pin up that sits through there, because you don't want it to be too tight. And then once you got that in, I'll show you how to tighten the caliper. So now we're at the point of just having a caliper that is loose sat around the disc with both pads back in along with the cage. So now the way we're going to put this caliper back to the way it was is we're going to get a 5mm Allen key, or I'm going to, because it's the one I need. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin or pedal the back wheel, let it freewheel, and then I'm going to pull on the brake lever for the back so it stops in a place where the caliper is fixed to the disc. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to redo that with off camera, just so it's all nice and tight, so it doesn't catch on the disc. So now I've got the caliper all nicely tight back up. There should be no noise coming from it. Mine's got a little bit in it because the disc isn't completely straight, or either I've just not done it very well. Now for disc brakes, but cable operated ones, not hydraulics, it is important that you do readjust the caliper every now and again, because what the caliper does is it actually bends the disc because only one of the pistons move from the cable being pulled. So you want to make sure you readjust that caliper on both front and back if they're both cable operated to make sure the disc doesn't bend too much. There is a tool to stop the bend, and this is what it looks like. This is the Park Tool one, and all you do is you just put it on the disc and then you just bend the disc to the shape that it needs to be back in. For caliper, for the caliper ones that sit around the rim, those are slightly different, but they're also very similar, because you can adjust them in the same way, and you can clean them in the same way. They're just a little bit more awkward to put back in the same position in the same place that you need them to be. So obviously you want them to be sat on the rim, so you want to loosen off that top bolt, spin the wheel as you would normally do, pull on the lever so it stops it, so the caliper's in place, tighten that bolt back up, let go of the lever, spin it, make sure it's all straight, and then pull on the lever again and then loosen off the bolts that keep the brake blocks in place, and then just slightly adjust those to the positions they need to be in, because then you've straightened the caliper and you've straightened the brake blocks that keep the effectiveness of the brake itself. So now that we've gotten the brakes done, you can do that for front and back. Simple as. There's nothing too complicated about it. It's all nice and easy, short, quick work. So next Monday, I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do the drivetrain, which is obviously your brakes, your cassette, your sprockets, your crank, and that kind of stuff. I'm going to go over that, just a brief how to clean, or either that I'm going to do indexing of the gears, because that is a really useful one for when you're out on the road and your gears quite aren't changing properly, so you just need a bit of indexing being done. So it's nice and easy. I'll run through that next time. But other than that, it's bye from me. Stay safe and take care, guys.